Well, folks, Nancy Pelosi is retiring. Flights are getting delayed left and right, and socialism is going to be hitting the city of New York hard. All that and more today on Spin Cycle Live. Well, folks, I'm Nathan Hale. Today is Thursday, November 6th, 2025, and boy howdy, do we got a lot to talk about. From elections today to Nancy Pelosi retiring to even more government shutdown news. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. But I am excited to be with you all today. This show is going out live on YouTube, Rumble, and X. You can follow me on all the platforms linked in the description down below. Make sure to keep up with me on X with everything that's going on. And yeah, as I said on Tuesday, we were going to be covering Elections Day on Thursday. We have all the results are in at this point. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not super surprised in how elections went, what happened with all of them. It's pretty typical of what I was expecting. I will say I am surprised about the Attorney General election in Virginia. I felt in my heart that the people of Virginia would have a little bit more common sense than they did on Tuesday. I was wrong. I was off by one prediction. That's all I want to say about that. So let's go and get started with New York City. So no surprises in New York. So this is all from Decision Desk. I like their kind of summaries the best, but kind of no surprises. So Zoran Mamdani will be the next mayor of New York, the Democrat socialist of New York City, who'll be taking over. We're going to be seeing bread lines happening in the city, government-sanctioned grocery stores, and rent control left and right. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen in this city. Truly interested. Let's see, are there other candidates? I'll look at that. A few other candidates. We're also running. All right. So no surprise there. I do want to say this, though. I do want to say this. A whole bunch of people were suggesting that people not vote for Curtis Sliwa and instead vote for Andrew Cuomo, because Cuomo would be a better governor than Zoran Mamdani, which I'm not saying he wouldn't be, but to think that the Curtis Sliwa voters were going to flip the election towards Andrew Cuomo, I thought that was a little far stretched. I mean, we can see that in the results. Literally, if every single voter had voted for Andrew Cuomo instead of Curtis Sliwa, Mamdani still would have won. So I feel that my hesitancy of saying, hey, maybe this isn't the greatest idea to be suggesting people to be going and voting for Andrew Cuomo. We'll see. I think that New York deserves this, frankly. New York is so stuck on stupid that they've been electing failed mayor after failed mayor after failed mayor. I mean, I remember when Eric Adams first got elected, people were suggesting that Eric Adams was going to be this great mayor and everything, and he really just wasn't. And we can see it here. I mean, he failed mayor Eric Adams, still in the race, got 6,300 votes out of 2 million. So really showed them. It's just I'm amazed. Had you told me a few years ago that a radical Muslim was going to be running the city of New York, I would have said you were crazy. But here we are. So very disappointed. I mean, I'm not surprised by the results, but disappointed to say the least. I'm interested. Is there a map that is attached to this so we can see where people are voting at? So I'm not sure if there is or not. There might be. No, they don't give a map for this one, unfortunately. So that's a little disheartening. But anyways. So let's go and move on. So we've seen New York. Let's go and talk about Virginia now. So Virginia, Jay Jones, the Democrat who wants to kill his political opponents, has won by 52% in the state of Virginia. He beat the Republican incumbent by a few percentage points, which blows me away. I truly thought that people would have had a little bit better judgment and said, "Hey, maybe let's not vote for the guy who literally said out loud that he wants to kill his political opponents." But here we are. And all I have to say about that is on Tuesday, Democrats showed that they do not care to end political violence. Democrats showed that political violence against Republicans does not bother them. Democrats proved in Virginia on Tuesday that all the polls that have showed that Democrats, by a wide margin, think it's okay to cause political violence against people who they disagree with were right. Democrats proved on Tuesday that there is an incentive structure for political extremists, for people who want to go and kill and murder and maim and assassinate their political opponents. They proved that to us on Tuesday by electing Jay Jones. They did it. I don't ever want to hear a Democrat ever again say that they are not the party of political violence, that somehow it's the Republican Party who's causing all the political violence in this country. If anyone ever says that, simply show them this map. That's it. Just post a picture of this map. That's all you got to show. Because I totally get behind people when they say, hey, this should be a bipartisan issue. Political violence is wrong no matter who does it. And they're absolutely right. It is wrong no matter who does it. But by and large, it is the Democrats that push it. And we saw it in Virginia. This result is true. This happened. I can't believe it. This was the one election that I thought the Republican might win in. Just because. I was wrong. Virginia, good luck. You've had Republican leadership for the past couple years. Thank God for that. And we're going to see what happens when you elected some radical extremist Democrats to run your state. And if you're a Republican in the state of Virginia and a crime is committed against you, God help you, because your attorney general hates you, by the way. He hates you. So that's that. Virginia governor. So this one's a little less surprising. So Abigail Spanberger won 57.3 to 42.7 in the state. Not a huge surprise there. I thought that Winsome Sears had a lot more appeal and support than apparently she actually had in the state. She won several years ago. I believe, what was it, 2021 when they had an election? I guess it might have been the end of 2020. I'm not sure. Whenever the last Virginia election was, we could pull up those results. But I'm honestly just curious. Let's pull this up. Let's see if I can get to this fast and see. Let's see, Governor of Virginia. So this was November 2nd, 2021. Glenn Youngkin won by 50.5%. So he barely screeched across by 1.9 percentage points. Crazy. What did Winsome Sears win by? I'm just honestly curious. We can pull that up real fast. I should have thought about this before we started doing the show, but now I'm curious. So you're live with us right here as I'm trying to find the election results for some of these other people who won. Oh, Wikipedia, you're failing me. Usually it's right there. What if we click on Glenn Youngkin? Glenn Youngkin, here we go. Winsome Sears. Let's see, where's her election history? I think she's kind of a baddie too. I would have voted for her. I don't know what people's issue with her was. Let's see. Let me find. November 2nd, 2021. 50.7% won Glenn Youngkin won by 50.5. So she got a couple more votes than Glenn Youngkin did. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. So, anyways, so where were we? Took us back to oh, here we go. So she lost. She lost the governor's race. How unfortunate. See what happens in Virginia. Same thing. Lieutenant governor went to a Democrat. Also not too surprised there. Virginia is such an odd state when they vote for people because you see here. So 57.3% for Abigail Spanberger, but only 55.4 for the Democrat who ran as lieutenant governor. Crazy. 2 percentage point difference. You can also see total votes for lieutenant governor is 3.3 million. Total votes for governor was about the same, just a few more for the governor's race. It's always crazy to me whenever I see kind of weird like split elections, and to think that like there's actually more people out there than we think there are who vote for who split their ticket up, who vote for a couple Democrats and a couple of Republicans based on how they feel. There's always a few of those out there, and we can see that even more apparent in the Attorney General's race, where there was 3.3, about the same amount of votes, but Jay Jones won by 52%, the lowest margin of victory compared to the governor and lieutenant governor. So it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy to see. So that's Virginia for it, and now we have New Jersey. I almost said New Mexico. New Jersey. Feels like New Mexico sometimes. New Jersey. So Miki Sherrill won 56.3% to 43.2%. Not a huge surprise there either. Be perfectly honest with you. Let's see. Did Jack Citarelli increase his vote share at all? Let's go to the election map. Let's go to governor back in 2021. So he pulled in 48% of the vote, which was 1.25 million. And today he got 1.3 million. So 43.2% of the vote compared to 48%. So he lost a lot of support. A lot more Democrats turned out in this election. He got roughly around the same amount of votes. He got about 200,000 more. Yeah. He got about 100,000 more votes. But he lost support because so many more Democrats showed up in this election. So there's a couple reasons for that. Obviously, it's an off-year election. Off-year elections tend to favor the party who's not in power federally. So right now, Republicans are running the show in Washington. So Democrats are going to pick up some seats because they're lashing out against what happened last November. Also, these are really big Democrat states. Like, it's really hard for a Republican to win in these states. The party funding is not there. I mean, in New York, for example, I've heard reports that like the Republican Party in New York is just like an absolute shambles. It has been over the past few years. They just have like no money to do anything in that city, and it's unfortunate to see things like this happen, and have these kind of loons get elected in these states, but they're kind of likable when you watch them on TV and you put politics aside. Like, if you're already someone who kind of leans Democrat, like, they're kind of likable. So, I don't know. Now, what I will say is that this is not this is not this is not the direction that we will be going in 2026, right? This is not saying that this is informing any future elections. This is what happened in this election. What Republicans are going to have to do going forward is going into 2026, they're really going to have to push all the good things the Trump administration has done. Because Democrats are really going to try and use the shutdown. They're going to try and use every other play in the book to go against Republicans in 2026 and try and win over the midterms. There's a lot of good that Republicans have done. Republicans have exposed corruption in Washington. Republicans have shut the border down. We've gotten it under control. Republicans are getting rid of our illegal alien problem in this country. Republicans are getting our economy back on track. Republicans are lowering interest rates. Republicans have passed a spending bill to try and cut corruption and waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government. There's a lot of good things that Republicans have done this year under the Trump administration. That's what needs to be pushed going forward to 2026. And I hope that when this whole shutdown is all said and done with, we are able to spin it to show that it truly was the Democrats who shut down the government, which it was, but Democrats would like you to believe the opposite. So we have some words from J.D. Vance on this whole matter with all these elections. So let's read a little bit of what he said. So Vice President J.D. Vance is cutting through the noise and reminding Republicans not to overreact to the Democrats' latest winning streak in local and state elections. To onlookers, it might seem like Democrats have regained their footing. New York City elected its first openly socialist mayor. California is poised to redistrict the state in a manner that gives Democrats an even greater electoral advantage. Oh yeah, I forgot to cover that. Yes, Democrats voted to approve a new state congressional map that is basically cut down. I think the Republicans coming out of the state to like 4. Kind of wild. It was wild in Texas, by the way, too, folks. By the way. It's also wild in California. That was already underrepresented. So California is poised to redistrict the state in a manner that gives Democrats an even greater electoral advantage, and fantasizing about murdering political opponents no longer disqualifies a person from holding the highest law enforcement office in Virginia. No kidding. In short, Democrats won every election they were hoping to win on November 4th. In the wake of these electoral losses, Vance gave Republican voters a reality check. Quote, I think it's idiotic to overreact to a couple of elections in blue states, but a few thoughts, Vance said in a Wednesday post on X. Vance noted that one of Republicans' challenges is voter enthusiasm. Voter turnout has historically been difficult for local elections, even more so among Republicans. Because of this, Vance emphasized the importance of energizing the base and energizing voters in future elections. Scott Pressler, Turning Point USA, and a bunch of others have been working hard to register voters, Vance said. I said it in 2022, and I've said it repeatedly since. Our coalition is low propensity, and that means we have to do better at turning out voters than we have in the past. Affordability was at the forefront of all successful campaigns this cycle. As Vance noted, cost of living will be a defining issue for all future elections, and it's one Republicans need to stay focused on, both on the campaign trail and in office. Quote, we need to focus on the home front, Vance said. The president has done a lot that has already paid off in lower interest rates and lower inflation. But we inherited a disaster from Joe Biden, and Rome wasn't built in a day. Isn't that the truth? Quote, we were going to keep working to make a decent life affordable in this country, and that's the metric by which we'll ultimately be judged in 2026 and beyond. Above all, Vance encouraged the MAGA movement to tune out distracting infighting, and focus on the movement. Quote, the infighting is so stupid, Vance said. I care about my fellow citizens, particularly young Americans, being able to afford a decent life. I care about immigration and our sovereignty, and I care about establishing peace overseas so our resources can be focused at home. If you care about those things too, let's work together. I think the vice president is totally right in this. You know, I go back and forth on J.D. Vance. Like, I don't think that J.D. Vance is presidential material. I've kind of, as time has gone on, I've kind of had feelings, changed my feelings a little bit on J.D. Vance. I don't feel that he's presidential material, but I also don't think he's a dumb guy either, right? I think he has a lot of smart things to say, a lot of good things to say. He's doing a great job as the vice president. And the job of the vice president is a lot of the times to go out and be a spokesperson for the president and for the party as a whole, and to pick up some slack in the media. And that's exactly what the vice president has been doing. He's doing a great job of it. So, I'm like neutral. I think J.D. Vance is a little vanilla. personally. Like he does a good job of being vice president, right? He's not too controversial, which is nice. So he's doing a great job as vice president. But I totally agree with him. We have to keep our eye on the ball. And going into 2026, we have to push what we have done to make America great again. And we're doing it. We're getting illegal aliens out of our country. We're bringing back working class jobs. We're bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars of investment into the United States from overseas companies. Between between chip makers, between Japanese investment, between factory jobs coming back to our country, exactly what we want to see. So we're bringing investment back to the United States. All these things have to be pushed in 2026, or else we're going to get killed. We're going to get killed. And especially in light of a lot of these states redistricting, and I recognize Republican states are doing it too, but the margin of victory in the House right now, it's only a couple seats. So if Democrats can pick up like, what, 10 or 12 seats, they've got the House, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens going into 2026 and where everything is. But we're only a few months away from campaign season, and we're only a few months away from elections again. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see it. So let's go and talk about air traffic controllers. So we talked about the government shutdown with air traffic controllers. The government's still shut down, by the way, hasn't reopened yet. So we talked about how the transportation the Department of Transportation was suggesting that they were going to have to be reducing flights, and that seems to be happening. So Trump administration orders 10% of flights cut at major U.S. airports due to government shutdown. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said on November 5th that he would order a 10% cut in flights at 40 major U.S. airports, citing air traffic control safety concerns as a government shutdown hit a record 36th day. The drastic plan sent airlines scrambling to make significant reductions in flights in just 36 hours, and passengers flooded airline customer service hotlines with concerns about air travel in the coming days. Mr. Duffy said the cuts could be reversed if Democrats agreed to reopen the government. The shutdown, the longest in U.S. history, has forced 13,000 air traffic controllers and 50,000 Transportation Security Administration officers to work without pay. Tens of thousands of flights have been delayed since the shutdown began because of widespread air traffic control shortages. Airlines say at least 3.2 million travelers have already been impacted by air traffic control shortages. Quote, "We had to gut check what is our job," Secretary Duffy told reporters, citing a confidential safety assessment of the impact of the shutdown on controllers that raises concerns about their performance. "Our job is to make sure the hard decisions to continue to keep the airspace safe." At a call with major U.S. carriers, the FAA said capacity reductions at the airports would start at 4%, rising to 5% on November 8th and 6% on November 9th before hitting 10% next week, industry sources told Reuters. The FAA also plans to exempt international flights from the cut. "When we see pressures building in these 40 markets, we just can't ignore it," FAA Administrator Brian Bedford said at a press conference. Quote, "We can take action today to prevent things from deteriorating, so the system is extremely safe today. We'll be extremely safe tomorrow." While the government did not name the 40 airports affected, the cuts were expected to hit the 30 busiest airports, including those serving New York City, Washington, Chicago, Atlanta, Los Angeles, and Dallas. This would reduce as many as 1,800 flights and over 268,000 airline seats, according to aviation analyst firm Circrum, maybe. So, if you are experiencing a planes, trains, and automobiles delay while you are trying to get home for Thanksgiving or Christmas this year, Look no further than blaming the Democrats in Washington D.C. For your flight delays. That's exactly who's causing this to happen. Because once again, the Democrats are so stuck on stupid, they want to give illegal aliens health care that they would rather keep the government shut down, cause everyone to have flight delays, than just reopen the government and not give illegals health care in the way that we shouldn't be giving illegal aliens health care. Because it's dumb. You should only get health care in our country from our tax dollars if you're a citizen here. Right? It's one thing to walk in an emergency room and get treated. It's another thing to give someone Medicare and Medicaid. Just saying, right? We talked about that on Tuesday. So, our last bit, we have some good news today. We've had some bad news all this episode. We finally got a little bit of good news. So, Nancy Pelosi, she's retiring, guys. She's finally going to be out of Washington. She's finally going to be out of Washington. The only representative that I can think of that has had a bill proposed, named after her to stop her from getting rich, the Pelosi Act. So, let's talk about Nancy Pelosi and her legacy for a moment, folks. So, Nancy Pelosi announces retirement after nearly 40 years in Congress. Oh, gosh. Gotta wipe the tear from my eye here. Old Bat will no longer be writing our laws. And what has she done in Congress, folks, you might ask? So former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced Tuesday she will not seek re-election to Congress after having spent 39 years representing San Francisco. 39 years. 39 years in Congress. That's like some people's like entire career, right? That's like you got a job out of college and now you're actually retiring. This woman has been in the same position for 40 years, helping to write our laws, helping to oversee our government. And she'd like you to believe that she's still in touch with all of you. And so many people idolize her. She was out of touch with the American people in 2008 under Barack Obama. She was out of touch with the American people in 2016 under Donald Trump. She's out of touch with the people today. We need to have term limits on Congress. We do. Oh my gosh, we so do. Or at least age limits. Gosh. This woman's 85 years old. The 85-year-old who made history as the country's first and only female House Speaker will retire at the conclusion of her term in early 2026. Gee, I wonder why she's the only female House Speaker. With a grateful heart, even after her ruling, Democrats chose a dude to run the show. They're like, we can't have another woman. She ruined Congress. We gotta get a dude in there to do her job. To build back some a little bit of respect. With a grateful heart, I look forward to my final year of service as your proud representative, Pelosi said in a nearly 6-minute video posted on X early Tuesday morning. 6 minutes is the longest that Nancy Pelosi can string together a sentence for. My message to the city I love is this: San Francisco, know your power. She added, quote, we have always led the way, and now we must continue to do so by remaining full participants in our democracy and fighting for the American ideals that we hold dear. Yes, San Francisco has always led the way in having a poop-stained city. It's a poo-poo city. Literally. There's maps that show the poo-poo in the city. It's all over. You can look them up. Go Google San Francisco poo-poo map. You're going to find a map that has San Francisco highlighted in brown. It's because it's covered in poo-poo. It's everywhere. Human poo-poo. Pelosi led the House Democrats for 20 years, including 8 years spent as Speaker. Oh my gosh. Thought those 8 years would never be over. She was first elected to Congress in 1987, special election to replace the late Representative Sala Burton. She ultimately would become one of the most influential voices of the Democratic Party. So what exactly has she done as one of the most influential members of the Democratic Party? So Pelosi first became Speaker after the 2006 election and again after the 2018 election. She frequently clashed with President Trump during his first term and oversaw congressional oversight that twice ended in Trump being impeached by the House. So she impeached a sitting U.S. president twice for no good reason. Okay, so she's done that. What else? In another infamous moment from her second term as Speaker, Pelosi tore up a copy of Trump's speech, State of Union speech, to Congress while she sat behind him during his address. So she impeached him twice. She tore up his speech, which, how rude. Like, that's just a low move. Like, you're sitting behind the sitting U.S. president, and you're gonna sit there and tear up his speech after he gives it? Are you kidding me? Like, I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. I would not have sat behind Joe Biden and torn up his speech. Show the man a little respect. He still is the president, after all. We can criticize their policies and everything, but that's just kind of ghetto to do stuff like that. All right. During her time in Congress, which has spanned the terms of seven presidents, I've only been alive enough to see, let's see here, four presidents. I've only been alive to see four presidents. Five if you count Donald Trump's second term, but really only four. All right. So during her time in Congress, which has spanned seven presidents, Pelosi's team has also credited her as the chief architect of the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act, which has so many problems to it. So her name is attached to it. I'm not sure if I'd want my name attached to the Affordable Care Act, to be perfectly honest with you. Trump, who has dubbed Pelosi Crazy Nancy, celebrated the news of her retirement in comments to Fox News. The retirement of Nancy Pelosi is a great thing for America. Sure is, he said, calling her evil, corrupt, and only focused on bad things for our country, like the Affordable Care Act. She was rapidly losing control of her party, and it was never coming back. I'm very honored she impeached me twice and failed miserably twice, Trump said. Yeah, you gotta love Trump, guys. You gotta love Trump. So, sayonara, Nancy Pelosi. Glad your time in Congress is coming to an end. And California can elect a radical, even more extreme than her, to take up the reins. So, hope we don't see what's coming next for Nancy Pelosi. I genuinely hope that she goes and lives a quiet life for her remaining years with her husband, Paul Pelosi, and they don't get up to any more nefarious dealings, if you know what I mean. So, we'll see what happens with that, and every day that goes by where I don't have to hear about Nancy Pelosi or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama is another day of peace for me. So, with that, folks, that is the end of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that I did. So, we'll be back here on Tuesday with yet another great episode of this wonderful, awesome show. Please share with friends. Let people know how great the show is. And with that, I've been Nathan Hale. This has been Spin Live. We'll see you back here on Tuesday. Follow us on all the social media platforms, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.